Well, I can't believe it's been ages. Welcome, Susan from Hola Sober. How you doing?
Janey, it's wonderful always. When you sent me the email, I was so excited, and I am truly, truly delighted to be with you this afternoon. You're looking like an
Oh,
absolute rock star. I
well,
love you
so
in
are you. You
orange.
look great. You look great. So,
Thank
I
you.
mean, we haven't spoken for absolutely ages, and yet, we know how to gas, don't we, you and me? So we'll have to
Lovely.
keep an eye on the clock. But I particularly wanted to chat with you about the whole Sober October thing, where, in the middle of it, or, coming to the end of week 3 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I've been doing the odd video, sort of sharing some tips and bits and pieces. And obviously, I've got clients and I've got Sober Club members, some of whom are doing Sober October. And yet, there's still a little part of me that there's just a bit of me that kind of wants to go, well, that's all very well, but you've just got to also think of the pieces, if you know what I mean. I'm not explaining myself very well, but I suppose what frustrates me is that I know that for some people, they think of it as, oh, I'll grit my teeth, every day. I'll sort of hang on for dear life. And then, thank God, it's only a few days till I can drink again, which is just like, oh God, such a wasted opportunity. When what you can actually do is focus on all the blessings and focus on all the gains, because as you and I well know, there is nothing to lose and everything to gain. So tell me
Absolutely.
where you're at with it. And didn't you do a bit of research on, isn't there like
I
loads of people
did.
doing it this year?
Yes. So I went looking at stats because I think it's always really important to look at societal shifts. And I
Yeah.
think one survey came out in 2024 to say that 1 in 4 Americans were taking on the task of Sober October. And in terms of the UK and Ireland, the statistics were telling us that because of the Macmillan Trust campaign for
Yeah.
Sober October, they were able to clearly state that in 2022, 75,000 people signed up. And this year, there are 16,089 sober heroes, as they call them, signed up. Now, you and I both know that if they're the numbers that are officially signed up, we can multiply that by 4 to 5. So that's the
Yeah.
first thing. So
Yeah.
Sober October is a thing, just like Dry January became a thing.
Yeah.
And like you, I used to get frustrated year in, year out, whereby women, particularly, would do Sober October and come the 20th to the 21st, they were on this countdown to fall back into the
Mm,
trap
mm.
on the 1st of November of Lushville Central. And they were afraid almost to admit how well or how more clear they
Yeah. How
felt
different they
for the
felt.
month
Yeah.
of October, right? Because let's be honest, anybody who goes into a sober October, unless it is genuinely for a cancer trust friend or sister and they don't have, shall we call it our thing, my
Mm,
thing,
mm.
they're going into sober October because they have a concern. They
Yeah.
have a concern
Yeah. They
for
know
how
they're
they're
drinking too
drinking,
much, don't they? Yeah.
right?
They
So
know.
they have a concern, and they've actually sort of, if you like, grasped the nettle. And
Mm.
as we know, that's the hardest thing to do,
Yeah.
to
It
grasp the
is.
right.
It is.
And they become part of this little community online or Instagram sober or the sober club, and they meet other like-minded people. But something within them is scared.
Mm,
Something within them is afraid of judgment. And something within them is afraid to be truly, truly, truly honest with themselves
mm.
about what they're actually drinking. So they're now on the 15th of October, when this comes out on Friday, the 17th of October. So they've had 17 hangover free mornings, which is just miraculously powerful to wake up
Yeah.
clear headed without the carpet mouth, without the oh
Yeah.
shit, what did I
Oh
say last
God.
night? And
Yeah.
without the forensic examination of the phone, who did I text? What did I promise? Where did I say I would be? So they've had 17 days of that. But there is still that refusal within them to not acknowledge that Sober October is opening a window into a world that is exciting and fabulous. And something I learned very early in sobriety was that my sobriety was a life not to be documented. It
Mm,
was a life to be lived.
mm,
I wasn't giving anything up, as you so rightly often
mm,
say.
mm,
I was actually leaning into a deeper, more spectacular, more real, more connected life, right?
yeah, yeah,
In the world we live in, connection is often deemed to be a Wi-Fi signal and the
mm,
phone you have in your hand. But connection actually begins with yourself.
yeah,
And in Sober October, in 17 days, 20 days, 30 days, they do get a window, but they're scared. They're scared.
mm,
And sometimes it's our job, you and I, who stuck our head above the parapet and speak openly about the healthy, amazing choice we made all those years ago, to say to these women and men, for the love of all that's good in the world, stop being scared. Please live in the moment and in the present.
mm, mm,
Please embrace the nettle, hold it tight, and actually begin to believe that you are capable, that you are not that one who cannot be reached, that you are
yeah,
not one who will fall through the cracks, that you actually just need to do what that guy on Instagram always says, get to midnight, do it again. Get
yeah,
to midnight,
exactly.
do it again,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so
totally.
looking at Sober October, I genuinely always feel it is such a great opportunity to make such a wonderful life change that will
Mm.
empower your life
Yeah.
going into the holiday season, as opposed to wrecking your life. Because your life actually, as you and I know, gets bigger in
It
sobriety.
totally does. It totally does. And that's the piece, isn't it? That we have to just keep impressing upon people. It's not a sacrifice you're making. I don't like it when it's kind of linked, people sort of see it a bit like
Giving up.
Lent, oh, I
Yeah,
think I'll give something up for Lent. It's not like that at all. It's an incredible opportunity to step off the goddamn rat run, the sort of hamster wheel of
correct,
addiction and
correct.
and embrace everything great. But I just want to pick up on something you said that's quite interesting when you were saying about um being fearful and I can't remember the words you used, but it made me remember um for so many years, when I was waking up at 3 a.m. hating myself and all the rest of it. Of
Mhm.
course it went through my mind that I was drinking too much, obviously, regularly it
Yes,
did. But I couldn't actually properly face it. It was very difficult to face.
correct.
And if
It
I'd have done dry January that then or sober October, whatever, I mean, I think I did do some periods of sobriety.
is.
I did it along the lines of, oh, well, I'll sacrifice or I'll give a bit of money to charity or I'll X and Y. I didn't actually fess right up and admit even to myself that, you know what, I got something going on here that I don't like. I know I wasn't at rock bottom. I always knew that. It was never
Yes,
an issue that I needed to, be GPing or AAing
yes.
or rehabbing. That was never an issue. But I knew something was going on, but it was very, very difficult to admit that even to myself. That
Of
was the
course.
piece that took bloody years and years and years
Yes.
and years. Even when I started to search, now looking back, I can see quite clearly that, of course, I was searching, and I would, as I've mentioned so many times, if I went to a GP that I trusted, I might go for a vitamin D test, and then on the
Yes.
way out, I'd kind of say, "Oh, actually, I'm a bit worried about my drinking," and then they'd go, "Ah, you look fine. Have an alcohol-free day." And
Yes.
thank God there's nothing wrong with me. And that kept me stuck for another 5 years. And that scenario went on and on and on
And
for bloody years because I couldn't admit, even to
right.
myself, because of the shame that I felt of
Yes.
having to admit something that I had no idea anyone else was feeling. No
And
idea.
no, and here's the thing. Listen, Brianna Wiest wrote that book, The Mountain Is You, okay? And she actually says in the book, it is not the mountain we conquer,
Yeah,
but ourselves, right?
yeah, yeah,
And like you, I was so ashamed of coming home every evening with a successful day job, being the consummate professional, to uncork a bottle of wine and
yeah,
slide it into a glass.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
filled with shame. And I too felt I was the only person on planet Earth that was actually engaging in that
yeah,
activity.
yeah,
And for me to do Sober January, which I did 4 years before I gave up alcohol, I too was not willing to have that difficult conversation with myself
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
yes, I was concerned for my drinking. Yes, I didn't like who I was becoming.
Mm.
Yes, I was fearful of where it would lead.
Yeah.
Yes, I was fearful that one day I would say just a little too much, or
Yeah.
I would telephone somebody in a state of a bottle of wine, or I would send a work email. I was constantly living in this perplexed sense of I'm going to fuck it all
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
am. And facing that took a spirit within me I didn't know I had.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I too didn't have a rock bottom. You and I had high bottoms, which has nothing to do with
I know.
our
If
kind of
only, if
causal
only,
bodies.
darling.
Absolutely.
I'd,
So you and I
I
had high
embrace that high
bottom.
bottom.
Yes. And here's the thing. We didn't go to rehab. We didn't go into the rooms of AA. However, speaking for myself personally, I believe that a bottle a night equipped me to do all of those things, but I wasn't in a bad state. My marriage wasn't in tatters. My job wasn't in tatters. Nothing was actually in tatters other than the inside of my soul.
Mm.
That's what was in
Mm.
tatters.
Mm.
I was in tatters. And so we often, and I certainly did, you look around and you say, it's my job, or it's my husband,
Yeah.
or it's my partner, or it's my
Mm.
mother, or it's
Mm.
the children,
Or it's the
or it's the
menopause.
neighbors.
It's perimenopause. I'm
It's
hearing that all the
perimenopause.
time. Women are
Yeah,
saying, oh,
it's
this is why.
hormones.
If only if give me some HRT and everything will be okay. And then they take the HRT on top of a bottle of wine a night. That works out well.
Absolutely. And I mean,
No
that's,
judgment, by the way. No judgment.
yes,
I get it
yeah.
completely. I've
We're
been
not
there.
in a position to
No,
judge,
we
but
bloody
here's the
aren't.
deal. We blame, I certainly did. We
Yeah,
blame the
yeah,
world and his mother because,
yes,
again, we're afraid to take radical responsibility.
yeah.
And isn't that what it comes down to?
It does. It does. That and the fact that we need to recognize that we need to take responsibility and that actually it's alcohol that's addictive. It's
Correct.
the alcohol. It's not our flawed
No,
personality. It's
no.
alcohol that's addictive. And God, I just genuinely didn't really grasp that. I used to believe all those BS articles about, oh, a
Yeah.
glass of red wine's good for the heart. Is it hell? I
Yes.
believed all that. And
Yes.
actually, when we can properly, when enough people are talking about the fact that no, even
Yeah.
one glass is harmful, let's be bloody clear. And it has
Yes.
zero benefits.
Yes.
End of. We've all been lied to. And it's difficult when you have to kind of admit that you've been gullible. We all have.
We
And
think we're
most
very
people still
savvy,
are. Yeah, we
but
think we're savvy.
we
And
do. I
also,
was addicted to an addictive
yes,
substance. Isn't
exactly
that the
that.
core?
Exactly that.
So we,
And
you and I,
society wants you to be.
of course.
Society wants you to be in that trap, particularly as a woman.
Yeah.
For Mother's Day, we're meant to buy you alcohol. End of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the thing, when you're addicted to an addictive substance, which you and I were, but we didn't know that. So that's really important. We didn't know that because I believed that I must have a genetic mutation. I
Mm,
believed I was weak or flawed, that I
yeah,
was a black sheep, that there was something fundamentally wrong with me.
yeah,
While I was drinking in a mind-altered state, I held on to those beliefs and
yes,
they paralyzed me, Janey. They
absolutely,
paralyzed me, right? The joy of sobriety was having the clear-headed ability to seek out the truth and
yeah,
the answers,
yeah,
which I was addicted to an addictive substance. And
exactly,
if you drink alcohol every day, you too will become addicted. So, no, I'm not special. You're not
yeah,
special. The woman listening and the man driving his car, they're not special either.
yeah,
This is a scientific fact that
yeah,
if you use a drug, because alcohol was my drug of choice, if you use alcohol to cope with life,
yeah,
to your husband, your children, your job, stress, the weather, Halloween, Thanksgiving, whatever, your body will naturally crave more and more and more.
exactly, yeah,
And so the damage that society's beliefs
hmm
and
hmm
Hollywood have done
hmm
to a body and generation of women by making us feel that wine was reward and that we were flawed. There's
Yeah,
something wrong with
exactly.
us.
The alcohol is
Because
great, but use it. I mean, those strap lines from the
use it
alcohol
wisely.
companies about please drink responsibly. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What BS is that? What
Yeah,
absolute
there's
BS is that? Yeah, how about don't
Complete.
drink? That would be that would be
Absolutely.
the sensible thing. And if they want, if they really want to take on board responsibility, how about not advertising their toxic drug, or certainly not trying to push it onto people, and call it glamorous. As we
Absolutely.
said on, I think I've even
Absolutely.
said to you, the alcohol companies never use for their advertising the pictures of people who've actually imbibed in their product, do they? You never see the pictures of the people
Yes.
lying in the gutter and feeling
Yes.
like shit,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. And the truth of the matter is that because society has told all of us and everybody who's listening right now, wherever they're listening, they are living within a society that believes alcohol is a celebratory substance.
Yeah.
And they feel, if you like, othered by doing Sober October in some way. And then when they come to the end of October and the 1st of November looms, they're afraid of being othered and
Yeah.
they're afraid of being seen to be different. And whereas I firmly believe with every fiber of my being, the single most rebellious act of courage, brutal courage, that I have ever done in my life is put down the wine glass.
Totally,
That is
totally.
brutal courage.
Yeah.
That is standing in an act of rebellion, surrounded, living in a country like Spain with sunshine and patios and terraces and Tuesdays and Fridays and Saturdays and wine and sangria and going, no, I don't do that shit.
Yeah,
That shit is
absolutely.
flammable. I don't do
Absolutely.
that shit. And
Yeah.
so I've gone from being ashamed. I've gone from being filled with absolute judgment and self-loathing for believing singularly that I was absolutely the worst human being,
Mm,
mother, daughter, wife on the planet
yeah.
because I was drinking a bottle every night and nobody really knew about it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I've gone from that place to being unequivocally and unapologetically and powerfully, I don't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
and it's not a conversation I'm starting with you.
Mm.
This is a sentence.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I,
No is a complete sentence. I love that phrase.
so it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't drink.
No,
Recent,
exactly.
2 Saturdays ago, my husband and I were at this fabulous luncheon with his university colleagues. There was a small group of senior leaders in this magnificent terrace. You know the setting. The sun is
Mm,
shining. A lot of these guys are engineers and mathematicians, physicists, a few architects thrown in at the table. What was fascinating to me, so there was probably, we'll say, 30 people. I'd say there was only maybe six having alcohol at lunchtime.
interesting.
That, to
Mm,
me. So here I was with
mm,
a very intellectually clever, smart group of people who live healthy lives and make
mm,
healthy choices. And they weren't drinking at lunchtime. And I was sitting there going, thinking, back in the day,
yeah.
sunshine, a
Mm,
patio,
mm,
a group of friends. Oh,
yeah.
sure, Jesus. I just stuck a straw down into the bottle.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
I'd have been right in the middle of it. And I'd have been annoyed that they weren't
Mm,
drinking quick enough.
mm,
I'd have been
mm,
annoyed that the wine wasn't coming out fast enough, right?
yeah.
Whereas we had the most gorgeous, and I mean gorgeous, 3.5 hours of fun and laughter and great conversation among gorgeous, gorgeous, lovely, smart, savvy, interesting people. And I was on sparkling water with a twist of lime.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is a place and a space I didn't know existed when I
Mm,
was drinking.
yeah.
And I didn't know I was capable of living that life.
Yeah.
Because part of the denial for me was the devil I know is better than the devil I don't know. I'm
Well,
just a drink.
absolutely. I mean, this is the thing. When we're drinking, it's that lovely phrase, isn't it? We don't know what we don't know. And when we're drinking, well, number one, we think we're the only ones who are suffering. We
Yeah,
we can't see a way out of it. I mean, I couldn't. That's why I was so afraid, because obviously I tried a few times. And
yes,
despite being pretty successful in other areas of my life, I couldn't seem to do this one, which really freaked me out. I remember
yeah,
thinking, what the
yeah,
hell? I can do kind of pretty much whatever I put my mind to. Why can't I
yes,
just not do something at 6 o'clock this evening? But somehow I couldn't, right? Which
yes,
really freaked me out. And so, we have to go through all of this awful thing. And at that point, we just don't know that life is better on the other side. And
Yes,
that's the piece that, that's why I'm doing this podcast, because the more I can drum home, do this, it's worth it. Life is better. It's not just a case of, okay, you'll get through it. You'll find a way, it'll always be a little bit, not quite as good. No, absolute BS. Life is better because you have freedom. And that freedom, that's the magical piece. If we
it
could bottle
is.
that and sell it, people might understand a little quicker. But nobody talks about that in
No,
society. As
no.
I said, the GP didn't say to me, oh, what she should have said is, well done you for noticing it's not serving you.
Yes,
Some people manage with an alcohol-free day, la da da da, but for you, you've noticed it's not serving you. Well done. I hear there's a whole group of people who choose positive sobriety and well-being.
correct.
And why don't you go check out, one of the groups or whatever? That's what she should have said. Not,
Yeah, it
oh, well, you're
is.
fine, you're doing fine. Just have a glass of water.
Yeah,
As if to say, you couldn't possibly contemplate not drinking, just
yes. I
temper it a bit.
remember being told,
God.
a woman friend of mine was told by her GP in Ireland to swap out a glass of wine with water and do wine, water, wine, water, wine,
Yeah,
water.
yeah, that's effectively what mine was saying. Yeah.
And
And
I
then I had
remember,
a therapist. I went to see a therapist as well, an amazing holistic therapist,
yes,
and who I really trusted. And by the way, there's no judgment because you don't know what you don't know. And she clearly
yeah,
didn't know. And she was
yeah.
clearly drinking herself. And the best advice she could give me, along with all this incredible holistic stuff that she was brilliant at, was, oh, switch the wine to vodka. What the fuck? I mean, thank God I was bright enough not to take that
Wow.
one on.
Wow. But
Oh
can I tell you
God.
something? There you are talking about the fact that, the world is sort of, if you like, filled with this false information in the medical community and in governments and everywhere else where they don't want us to know because the big five drinks
Yeah,
industry companies
exactly.
are multi-billion dollar enterprises and taxpayers, right?
Yes, yes.
But in an ever-changing world, right? In a world that where we have AI and bots and we have all of these things going on, what is really interesting is that the way somebody gave up alcohol 100 years ago and the way I gave up alcohol is actually the same. Okay. There is no great secret,
Mm.
right? So, the way we're told right now, I'm going on a chia seed fest, right? I'm putting chia seeds in everything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
flax seeds and something
Yeah.
else. And I'm eating 2 to 3 kiwis a morning. And,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of these fads. Do you remember coconut oil, carrot juice, you name it,
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
you name it, right? Whereas the truth of the matter is to give up alcohol now and 100 years goes the same. We just don't drink today.
Yeah,
That's
just stop
get to
drinking.
midnight,
Exactly.
do it again, right?
Yeah,
We
exactly.
don't need, Janey, we don't need, a formula. We don't need, all of this stuff. We actually need to just get to midnight, do it again. We do need to be in community so we can feel
Yeah.
support.
We need connection. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
do need that connection. Absolutely. We do. And we do need, particularly those in Sober October, coming to the end, planning a great big, wine festival at the end to throw away their dignity one last time. We do need to be in connection and community because we will hear other people further along the road who can tell us what they've learned. And I
Yeah.
think that is the power of community. And that is the power of,
Yeah. Yeah.
excuse me, that is the power of listing out and seeking out answers from people
Exactly. I think
who've been
that's
on the
exactly
road.
it because I think when you hit the low spot, and you always do, in the early weeks, you tend to get that wonderful euphoria. And I've got sober club members who they go, "Oh, I've been doing fantastically well," and then they'll come on the group and they'll go, "Oh, I feel so flat. Is there something wrong with me? What am I doing wrong?" Well, sweetheart, it's called life.
Correct.
You're not always flying every goddamn day. That's the way it is. Just breathe and it will pass. It
Yes,
will pass. And let's put it this way. You wouldn't be feeling better if you decided to take a drink. It's not, you
absolutely.
aren't feeling shit because you're not having alcohol. You're feeling
Yeah.
shit
And you
because
know
of
what?
something else.
Here's a quiet, defiant truth in those moments for people who feel, I feel flat, or life is shit, or,
Mm.
a quiet, defiant truth is very simply this. You do not have to control the storm to survive it, Janie. You just have
Yeah.
to refuse to be blown away. And in this
Yeah.
instance, what that actually means is you have to be unequivocal in your commitment.
Yeah.
I'm not going to drink today. Even
Exactly.
if my ass is
Exactly.
on fire, I'm not going to drink today. Right? And when people look at the AA model and one day at a time and all of that, they frown upon it. And I'm not a label person, as you know. The only label I ascribe to myself is fabulous. I refuse to take on the other label. But the point is this, is that the true value of doing one day at a time, or staying in the moment, or staying connected and staying
Mm.
present is that we bring in our horizon.
Yeah.
So I was talking to you earlier and I was saying that, in times of stress or trouble or illness or, post surgery, I bring in my horizon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was talking to my sister the other day about bringing in her
So in
horizon.
other words, rather than just, worrying about, oh my God, well, how will I going to cope with this and how will I cope with this in a year's time? And this is happening. Just it's living for the moment, really, isn't it?
100%. So therefore, so many women have said to you and I over the time, sure, Jesus, what am I going to do when my son gets married? I remember saying to one
Mm.
woman, what age is your son? She said to me, 7. And I said, would you ever feck off? Would you ever feck off? Right? So therefore, what will I do? So we need to bring our horizons in times of heaviness and stress. We need to be able to say, right now, my horizon is this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When this is done, my horizon might be making dinner. Do you
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm in recuperation. And
Yeah.
so therefore, if you're in dry October, sober October, and you're thinking already, oh shit, I've got Christmas, I've got the office party, my mother-in-law is a pain in the proverbial. How will I navigate my teenage son? Stop the, I won't say the bad word, but stop the feck,
Yeah.
right?
You're welcome.
Bring
Yeah,
in
exactly. Bring it in.
Bring
Live
in
in the
your
moment.
horizon.
Live in the moment.
Live
The
today.
beauty of that, particularly if you take the time to notice it, I always say to people, jot down the blessings, you know,
Yes.
just jot down 4 or 5 blessings
Yes.
from this choice. When you jot those things down, that helps your unconscious mind actually take notice of them. And then it starts to build up a little sense of resilience. Okay, I'm just living for today, but you know what? That was a bloody good day. There were 5 tiny little things that happened that were really nice, because we have to come back to the little things, don't we? And when you do that, one thing builds on another and one day builds on another. So then, you start to get that sense of resilience. And that's the key, really. So that when your thoughts start going, oh, but, wouldn't a glass of wine be nice? You know what? Actually, no, it would be really shit. Let me look back at this massive list of all
Yes.
these tiny little moments which were pretty spectacular, actually. And are you really going to trade all of that
Yes.
to drink toxic liquid and wake up feeling shit?
And that's it, you see, because you've just said the magic phrase, toxic, liquid, and wake up sick,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
it.
we romanticized it for
Yeah,
so
we
many
did. Yeah,
years.
we
And the
did.
women and men out there right now are romanticizing a pint of Heineken and a glass of wine. They're romanticizing it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
When the truth of the matter is, it is a toxic chemical
yeah,
that we are willingly putting into our bodies that is mind altering,
yeah.
that has chronic health effects on women more than men in the
Yes, it does. It
years.
does. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it has chronic effects on our mental health and our spiritual health. And really, what we're saying is, I'm not worth it. I'm not,
Absolutely,
I do
absolutely.
not have
All stems from
self-respect,
not caring
right?
about ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
don't
it's
have
self-harming. Let's
self-respect.
be clear. Drinking is actually a form of
100%.
self-harming. And if you'd said that
100%.
to me, 8.5 years ago, oh, you're actually self-harming. I said, don't be so goddamn ridiculous. It's my self-care, it's my treat, and
Yeah,
all of that bit. How deluded was I? And because that's what society wants me to be.
it
So
is.
that's you're exactly right. We're the rebels. We're the badasses who've actually managed to see the truth and break free. And that is the incredible thing about it all. It's that freedom. It's the freedom, isn't
It
it,
is.
that comes from it.
It
That's
is
the bit
freedom.
you can't, that's the bit that we have to keep banging on about because you don't see that when you're in it. You don't see, you can't, it's very, very hard to imagine for somebody halfway through Sober October
Yeah.
who is maybe getting some low points and starting to worry about, well, what happens after and worrying about X and Y, it's hard to grasp that, that can literally have been their last day one on the 1st of October, their
Absolutely.
last day one ever,
Absolutely.
and they can be free. Isn't that a powerful, if you can grasp it, isn't that powerful? You
It is.
can be free.
And here's the point, freedom comes and gives you empowerment, right?
Yeah.
So every single time you and I picked up a glass, and every single time people out there listening pour a pint or have a glass, they are disempowering themselves and they are saying, I disrespect myself.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really don't love myself that much. I think I'm a bit of a cow.
Yeah.
And I am going to steadily, slowly, in plain sight, kill myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're all watching me fuck
Yeah.
up my whole life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what we were all doing, even if
Yeah.
we were unaware. That's
Yeah.
what we were doing, right?
Yeah.
So 17 days into October, you could have had your last one, and you can actually take back the power within your life. And being Irish and you being English, we're not great on this whole love, self-love advocate.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely. We
we
find it
learned,
tough.
we
Yeah.
did find it
But
tough.
it's
But
it's
it's
easier. It's
important.
easier when you're not drinking.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
In sobriety, I have
Yeah.
found a lane
Yeah.
whereby I feel I'm never going to be, I love you in the mirror. And if I start doing that, Janie, shoot me now. But the
Well,
point,
Louise Hay would say it's a fantastic thing to do. She used to keep a little
right?
mirror in her bra,
I know.
so she
I
could whip it
remember
out
hearing
at all
that.
times.
Yes, but I'm not good at that. But what I am good at is I'm good at sobriety has empowered me to begin to believe in myself in
Yeah,
a way
exactly.
I
It's about
didn't.
you don't have to walk around saying I love you, but you do have to start to be able to like yourself enough to feel authentic and to
Yes,
feel that you are who you are meant to be. And
yes,
that's the beauty of sobriety actually. You become who you are meant to be. And
it is. And
and
there's
that
something I
that
would
is
like.
hard to describe actually. It's hard to dangle that carrot in front of
It
somebody.
is.
If someone had dangled that carrot in front of me, I might have been interested. Actually, nobody did until I finally was able to
You did it
grip.
yourself because you created the
But
sober club because nothing existed. So here's
well,
the
not in terms of all the well-being, that's true.
That's
But
right. You
but
came into it with the holistic approach, and that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
power. But I would urge somebody to do an exercise because sometimes, we're women, we love lists, right?
yeah,
And I would urge anyone listening to take the time over the weekend to sit down with a pen and paper and do a sober inventory
yeah,
of the benefits and the joys and the gratitudes that they found over the last 3 weeks. And to actually also do a list as to where their drinking took them.
mm,
Okay. And
mm,
that list is, let's call it the never again list. Like,
yeah,
what do you
yeah,
never again want to do? What do
yeah,
you never again want to send a text? I never again want to do that. I never want to shout at my husband. And do a never again list and then do the list of what you've gained.
yeah,
There's a line in a song that I absolutely love from Jelly Roll, and it says he was going into his very first AA meeting in the States, and he was met by a man, an older man, and Jason felt terrible and he was mortified and ashamed. And the man said to him, nobody came in here on a winning streak.
yeah, yeah,
And I just thought, whoa, love
yeah,
that line.
yeah,
Nobody comes into sober October, sober January, or any other time of the year giving up alcohol because their life is fabulous.
yeah,
A
exactly.
lot of people are doing it just like you and I did it because we had quiet concerns that we hadn't
Mm,
articulated to the
mm,
outside world because we were
yeah,
too embarrassed to.
yeah,
But now that you're in it,
yeah,
now that
exactly.
you're actually doing it, you've grasped the nettle. Now is the time
Yeah,
to sit down and write the never again list for you and you only, for
mm,
you and your eyes
yeah.
only.
No, it's very true.
And the next list is what is,
What have I
as you
gained?
said, the
Yeah,
gratitude,
yeah,
what have I gained?
yeah,
Because some of the joy of sobriety that you and I have experienced is not only that it's not documented, because it's not about documenting our lives, it's about actually living our lives. But it's like sometimes I've had conversations with my kids. I'm 7 years in January sober, and I've had conversations over the last 7 years that I would never have had
No, absolutely.
was drinking.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
they're not like it's not that this is life changing. No, I'm just talking about lovely conversations with my lads, just
Yeah.
lovely with my boys. My eldest was home. He lives in Paris and he was home just 2 weeks ago with his girlfriend. And I was sitting out there after lunch and we just were chatting. We
Mm,
were just chatting. And in my head, I got a flashback to 8 years ago,
mm,
similar lunch
yeah.
and a
When
bottle
you're
of wine on
drinking.
board.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the difference in the tone.
Yeah.
He, he,
Absolutely.
he stayed at the table. Do you
Mm,
understand? We were
mm,
at the table just chit-chatting away for ages. I was having tea and he had a coffee.
yeah.
And I remember this is the glorious gift. This is
Exactly.
a piece that I can't explain to somebody. But to whoever's listening, there's something in your life that is lacking
Mm,
because you're drinking.
totally. Yeah.
And sobriety will
Yeah.
give it to you in spades. So I would say feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Cliched as that
It
fridge
really
magnet
is.
is.
Yeah, it really is that absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yes,
And when you can grasp that, yeah, what a difference. Well, we could gas for hours, Susan,
I
but
know.
it's lovely to chat to you. But to give me a little rundown of what you're up to at the moment, because you're doing some exciting little
Yeah,
morning calls, yeah? Is
I
that what we're
am.
calling them?
So what when I broke my arm in May, and I couldn't write, and I was used to doing a daily email, as you know, I thought, okay, well, I can't write, but I can talk. Sure,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I can talk,
You can
people.
talk.
So I decided I would do this 5 minute voice file, right? And I
Right.
called it the morning call, and it starts off every morning with, this is your morning call. Please take a breath as you whisper to yourself, not today, lady, not today. And here's what I'd like you to carry today. And every day I would give a theme. So I started doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. And I'd been doing them for the group of the women that have been with me over the years. And then I've just had a recent surgery. And when you come out of something that you knew was going to be a challenge, but you actually
Mm,
feel, oh my God, sobriety brought me through something else.
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought, you know what, I'm going to spread the blanket a little bit.
Hmm,
So
hmm.
if people go to the website, holasober.com, on Saturday, the first one will be released publicly. And it's just
Brilliant.
a morning call. It's 5 minutes. It's
Yeah,
five
exactly.
minutes. And
And
it's
that's the thing,
really,
isn't it? It's that little pep talk. That's just that
yes,
reminder. I put a little motivational message in the Sober Club every day,
yes.
and I'm sure obviously not people. It doesn't land every day, so there'll be some
Oh,
days where people don't see it at all. But just every now and then, just that bit of motivation, just to
yeah.
remind, oh yeah, yeah, I'm going to keep on track. Or actually, that's an interesting phrase. So that's a fabulous thing. And what about the mag? When's the next
The
mag coming out?
magazine, and I'm hoping for a January issue. I've taken a bit of a
Right.
hiatus to focus on my health, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm
It's a lot of
also
work,
living
isn't
my
it?
life. Can I tell you something, Janie? The magazine is my love letter to the world, and is the greatest amount of work you could ever
It is.
imagine.
Yeah, I can
And
absolutely imagine that.
over the
Yeah.
last 2 months, as I was coming up to this surgery, I was taking time out, and now I've made the decision. Okay, January, I'll be back with a dry January issue.
Yeah.
And I think it's right for me because I volunteer and do this as service.
Yeah.
I always want to feel joyful. I don't want to feel it as a burden.
No,
So
absolutely.
therefore, the morning call is 5 minutes. I can do it from my bed, right? I literally record it in my bed on
Yeah.
my laptop. Like
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
a podcast or anything. But I do think that the magazine in January will come back with a little bit more energy than I presently have and will be as colorful and as splashy as always with something from yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that if you and I can continue to open up the conversation as to the joy and
Yeah.
as to
Exactly
the
that.
power that you
Yeah.
and I feel and to reassure people that A, it's possible, B, it's magnificent. And if you can feel the fear and do it anyway,
Yeah.
that's what we're here for in many ways, is to keep the
Absolutely.
conversation going. So olasober.com is where they can
Got
go.
it.
Right.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Susan. It's wonderful to chat with you.
And
I
you too.
really appreciate you joining me on the podcast. And yeah, carry on doing what you're doing. It's fab. Thank you so much.
Take care. Onwards and upwards. Lots of love always.